Hi, this is Dr. Anita with another diamond moment. The diamonds of our lives are truly produced through time, heat, and pressure. And it's only when we go back and evaluate at a different stage in our life that we're able to extract the lessons of our lives to be able to give us what we need for our future. We've been talking a lot about listening to within. And I wanted to express something today I hope that will be beneficial to you. And that is to hear the truth, you must listen. I don't mean listening with your ears, although that is very important. There's an expression that says if they're talking too much, they're lying. It's a way to find out the truth from what's going on in your environment. But again, I'm talking about listening to your inner man. And how do you do that when the communication has been shut down? You do it through determination and perseverance. You must be determined to hear that quiet voice within you in order for you to overcome a communication failure that may have taken place. So how do you know when the communication between your head and your heart has been severed? And I would say that it shows in a number of ways. It shows up in poor decision making. It shows up in confusion on who you can trust. It shows up in repetition or the reoccurrence of mistakes or missteps that you continue to take. It shows up when you're unable to move out of that loop that brings you back to where you were. So what can you do to reconnect the lines of communication between your head and your heart? And that comes through listening. It comes through quieting yourself and listening. We talked before about stilling the outer environment in order to listen to what's going on within. But what are you listening for? What are you looking for? We're looking at, again, reevaluating our past. Only this time, it's not the surface that you may be looking at. Yes, it's easy to see a breach of communication in something that's very overt. But when time has passed, when you've become older, when the memory has become more distant, sometimes we downplay those things because we're playing up what is happening right now. And I would offer to you that the things that we're downplaying are equally as important because they are truly the foundation of where we find ourselves today. We do have to retrace our steps in order to find our way back to a path that we may have ventured away from. And again, most of the things that we need to look for are not lying on the surface. They are within. When we talked about doing shadow work, and we talked about going in and looking at those difficult places in our lives, and we may have done that. Some of you may have done that. Some of you may have not. But there's also a place that is not quite so evident that also needs to be reconnected. And I'm not meaning it in terms of needing to go back through and do gut-wrenching work. Sometimes it's just to realize that this event is connected to another because our ego has, in trying to protect us, has disconnected the two. And in disconnecting the two, we never see the path to where we are now. We don't see the fact that that hidden experience that we have learned to live with, that we feel as though we've overcome, is actually informing where we are now. Most of the situations that we experience in our life are based either in fear or anger. And so when we're able to find those places of fear and anger and connect them to other places that may not feel as though they're so far away, we're able to make that connection and reestablish our innate selves. Sometimes we may feel that we've reached the genesis of a situation only to realize that there really is something else that simply needs to be plugged in order for us to be free. In order to hear the truth, you must listen. As you're silencing the noise, not just in the room with you, but the noise in your head, that is the place that will allow those tiny memories to bubble up and connect into the whole to bring about the clarity and the freedom that you have been looking for. In order to hear the truth, you must listen. And the truth that I'm referring to is the truth in all things. It's the truth that you've been searching for. It's the truth that you've known in your heart was the truth that you did not want to acknowledge or know how to acknowledge. And the truth that you will gain by listening will open the door to everything that you've ever desired in life. It's a heavy lesson. It's an interesting lesson, but once you get it, you have it. The truth, when you learn how to find it, the truth, when you can reconnect that communication between your head and your heart, that is the truth that will make you free. That is the truth that every time you hear that level of the truth, you will instinctively know what direction to go in. Sometimes there are decisions that we need to make in our lives and we're not quite sure what to do. And sometimes it's because we're concerned about what the other guy will think. We're concerned about what we owe to them or what they believe that we owe to them. And I would submit to you that we owe them nothing. The person that we owe is ourselves. The person that we must be truthful with is ourselves. And disconnecting ourselves from a perceived obligation is another thing that brings about the freedom that we may have been searching for all of our lives. We're taught to carry a certain level of responsibility to others. When you are a person who is in your friend group, the one who looks after or nurtures, after a while, people begin to expect you to operate within that role. So they always ask, if you're the strong person, who is it that looks after the strong person? And most people say there is no one. They have to look after themselves. So if that is the case, and if that is your reality, why are you worrying about what the other people might think when you have been responsible for looking after yourself all along? It's moving into another level of who you are. It's changing, as they say, your vibration. is changing what goes on around you. It's being willing to stop and do something different, to go the other direction. But in order to know where to do that, you have to listen. In order to know the truth, you have to listen. If you're talking, you're not listening. If you're reacting, you're not listening. In order to know the truth, you have to listen. And that listening takes being quiet. We talked about the role of meditation. We talked about an understanding that meditation is to the head what fasting is to the body. And I believe that to be the case. We must learn to listen. We must learn how to quiet ourselves in order to get the direction that we need for our future lives. In order to get the direction that we need to guide us into our desires, in order to get the direction that we need to lead us in our spiritual life as well as our physical life, we must learn to be quiet. I know of people that are not able to sit with themselves. They're not able to just be still. They have to be moving. They have to be talking. They have to be doing. They have to be on the phone. They have to be on social media. They have to be on the television. They don't ever take a time to just be quiet. Because in order to be quiet and listen, they might hear what they have been running from. They might understand what they've been afraid of. They may remember what they're angry about. Being quiet is so very important. I want to challenge you to begin the practice of silence, to begin to just be quiet. If you're a person that's used to activity, or you're a person that is used to being a very social person, it may be more challenging. If you are more of an introvert, then it may be something that you do all the time. If it is something that you do all the time, I want you to do it in a different way. I want you to listen from within. I want you to listen in the silence for the direction that you've been seeking, for the goal that you have in mind, for the ability to reconnect your head and your heart. If you have been looking for a way, a method to get back to who you are, this is time. We're coming to a place in which we've never been before. And this is the time for you to reconnect. This is an opportunity that you've been given simply by listening to this podcast today, that it's time to silence those voices and listen. If you haven't done so, I invite you to visit my website at www.DrAnitaMc.com. That's DrAnitaMc.com. You can connect with me there. You can connect with me on wisdom.com and on FanBase. And also, I invite you to purchase a Diamond Journey Journal. Becoming is a process. A process has stages, which is available on Amazon. I hope that this has been a benefit to you. And truly remember, to know the truth, you have to listen.